introduce our most important speaker of the night, which is the next governor of Pennsylvania, Mr. Ken Krawchuk.
All right, my turn. Hey, wait a minute. TJ, where's my teleprompters? What do you mean I don't get one? You mean I have to say what I actually think and feel? What kind of political party is this? Oh, man. All right, I'm a Toastmaster. I can handle this. That's counting. That's one. First of all, I'd like to thank the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania for granting me the honor of their nomination. And what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about what to expect on the issues for the governor candidate. Now, earlier today, you were here, I talked about the mechanics, how the campaign's going to be structured, what we're going to do. But that's only going to get us to the point where we can start doing things. So what I'd like to do is cover the three main items that a recent Rasmussen poll has said, Muhlenberg poll, has said are on top of Pennsylvania's minds. I call it the 3 E's: education, the economy, and elections. And I'd like to cover each one of those. Sound good? Then we'll go Q&A. There you go. Wow, you guys are pretty agreeable. Let's start with the first E, education. I got to tell you, I'm not full of any good news. Matter of fact, it goes the other way. Like my adopted uncle George Carlin said, it's all one big club and you and I ain't in it. Do you know that in Pennsylvania, more than half the kids can't read and write at grade level? 2/3 can't do math at grade level. Yet our Constitution says all the Article 3, Section 14, which is pi, that's how I remember that one. That General Assembly should provide for a thorough and efficient means of public education. So that's how thorough when half the kids can't read and 2/3 can't do math? It gets worse than that. The average cost to educate a student in Pennsylvania is about $23,000, a little more than that. Do you know what the cost is for a private education? Not an elite school, none of these fancy places. Yep, you're good. You should run for governor, man. It's about little over $11,000 per kid. Half the price of a government education. So it's not thorough because the kids ain't learning. It's not efficient because it's twice the price. What do we do? I don't know. I do know. All sorts of things we could do. We can start off by electing a libertarian. That's what I'm there for. What I would like to see instead of what we have now is to take the money that the government is giving to a school district. Coincidentally, do you know how much they're giving to each school district per student? About $11,000. So rather than giving that money to the school district and letting the school district charge property tax on top of that, another $12,000, instead, I would like to see that $11,000 go directly to the student and placed into an education savings account. And then the parent can choose any private school for their child and get out of that failing government system. Can you imagine if you had $11,000 in your child's education savings account? It's going to set you free from a failed government system where half the kids can't read, 2/3 can't do math. This is what I have planned for Pennsylvania. And think of the good part of that. Since the government's already spending $11,000 per kid, there's no tax increase. Even better, because that pays for a private education for your child, we don't need the property tax. The largest chunk of property tax goes for education. That will be gone once we get these private education savings accounts set up. But how do we do that? Do you know how intertwined it all is? How many laws there are? How much would have to change? I'm going to tell you something that's a kind of a secret, because the secret's not going to come out until I stand on the steps of the Capitol to publicly announce my candidacy. I've put together a legal team of libertarian attorneys, 3 of them so far. I'm looking to add more to that. What we've done is we've put together a lawsuit to sue the General Assembly to privatize, completely divestiture of the public education system. Have a judge order the divestiture because they're not meeting their constitutional requirement. It's not thorough, it's not efficient. Take it away from them. Put the power back in the hands of the parents where it belongs. Who would like a private education for their child? To get rid of their property tax. Man. I'm calling myself the education candidate because this is a no-brainer. Why have these losing schools? You know, some of the schools, there's 3 of them in Pittsburgh that I could identify by name if I wrote them down, that have no kids at all that are proficient in math or in reading. Man, people ask me, why am I running? Because I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. And there's a solution in hand. We're going to sue the Commonwealth, divest the school system, and meet the requirements of the Pennsylvania Constitution, which I never leave home without. So that's the first E, education. It's a disaster, but we have a plan to fix it, the free market. So let's move on to the second E, the economy. Oh boy, that's an easy one to point out in Pennsylvania. Do you know that the cost of government here in Pennsylvania has been rising at more than 3 times the rate of inflation for over 50 years? Doesn't matter if it's a Democrat in there, a Republican there. It doesn't matter if it's a high interest rate period, the Carter years, or the low inflation rate that we just had recently. The direction is always up, 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 up. Well, when I'm governor, that trend will end. I am promising that I will veto every single tax increase that crosses my desk, bar none. The growth of Pennsylvania government costs will end. Thank you. But that only holds the line. How do we start cutting back at this giant Leviathan cost? I go back to my job description, the Pennsylvania Constitution. When you look under the powers of the governor has something that Ronald Reagan always asked for but never got. It's called the line item veto. That means I could take anything in any law that's being passed and I could cross out what I don't like. Doesn't matter what it is. I went through and I found all kinds of things in there. For example, who likes horse racing? We got 1 or 2. Don't vote for me because right now we're giving $200 million a year of tax money to horse racing, of all things. Giddy up, right? Well, with the line item veto, that's gone. Who likes sports? Stadiums. I should put on my glasses, make sure I got all these numbers right. $200 million of your tax dollars go to pay for their stadiums. How much are they paying Bryce Harper? If they can afford that, they can afford to pay their own stadiums. With the line item veto, gone. What else? Unions. The prevailing wage laws add $1 billion to the tax burden in Pennsylvania. Movies. $100 million of your tax dollars are going to pay for movies. Gone. Slush funds. The governor has $300 million of slush funds. Gone. One after the other. Anybody drink alcohol? Fine wine and good spirits. They get $100 million of your money every year. Gone. What else? Special interest. Convention centers. Yeah, keep going, man. There's more. Convention centers. $200 million a year for convention centers. Dirty air. They subsidize. I can say it. They subsidize $100 million to burn dirty coal. They're taking your money and polluting the air. What I just said there, that's over $3 billion. Governor Joshua Shapiro is asking for a couple $1 billion to raise the budget right now. He wants to raise taxes. No, he could get that money just by using the line item veto, a power he already has that he's not using because he's a Democrat. I mean, what do you expect? And when I'm using that line item veto, I'm just not looking at the big things. I'm looking at stupid little things. Coming in from Jersey into Pennsylvania, welcome to Pennsylvania. Joshing Shapiro, governor. Why is his name on that sign? Get it off. Stop doing that entirely. Why would don't want to do that? We've got all these state buildings. Why aren't they covered with solar panels? Companies will put them on there for free, and it costs you a lot less than what you get from Philadelphia Electric or Commonwealth or any of those other ones. It's so easy. Here's another stupid one. This is really, it bothers me. I'm a license plate spotter. I like to look at license plates. My daughter and I, we have a contest to see which new ones are coming out. Why are there 20 different kinds of license plates? You got the regular ones. You got truck. You got trailer. You got house car. You got this, that, the other. We don't need all of those. Why not just have a number? That's all you need. Just sequentially issued number, because it costs money to design 20 different kinds of license plates. Like I said, stupid little things. Those signs that measure your speed, they're like $10,000 a piece. Do you know it's cheaper to slow down traffic? Park a junk police cruiser on the side of the road. That'll slow people down. The locals will know that it's a junk car. Out of town people won't. Local people aren't going to be speeding on their local roads. Out of town people might. So it's going to stop the very people you're looking to stop. Man, oh man, what do we got? Daylight savings time. Any fan of changing the clocks? Yeah, get rid of it. We as a state have the power to get rid of that. Personally, I want to go all daylight savings time. I'm willing to compromise and do the half hour, split it. Doesn't matter. Stupid little thing. Get rid of it. This one really killed me. Signs. Most road signs are useless. There's one that says slow. Well, you're always going slow, right? It could be another one, falling rock. Studies have shown they do zero good. They don't stop any incidents. They don't stop any traffic accidents. Nothing. They're pointless. But what they are is an obstacle that a car can hit, a wayward car, and that sign becomes a flying projectile, and who knows where it's going to land. Get rid of it. It costs $1,000 to put in there, and they got to maintain them and change them. Some of them are even worse than just useless. Those signs that say share the road, studies show they actually increase the number of accidents. Like I said, stupid little things. Gone, 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 gone. None of those things are going to be there. Even some of the larger things. Why are we paying for the beauty contests for the two old parties, what they call the primary elections? Why are we paying for that? Do you know it's like 20% of Pennsylvanians don't belong to either party? More than half are not Democrats. More than half are not Republicans. But they're soaking us for the money. Gone, gone, gone. All these economic things that they're taking our tax money. Big things, little things, all kinds of things in between. I can't wait for that first budget. So many things are going to be gone. It is my goal to eliminate Pennsylvania's personal income tax over the course of my 4 years. Gone. More money in your pocket. Thank you. There's a lot of bad news here, like I said, but a lot of good news too. So for education, there's a way out of the failed school system for our children and a lot more money in your pocket without raising taxes. For the economy, gone, gone, gone. Yeah, they're going to try and override my veto, but you know how Pennsylvania is set up? It is so close, one side or the other, they'll never be able to override my veto. But you want to bet they're going to try and do the one for the primaries. They're just another special interest. Anyway, they could try, but it's going to reveal them for the special interest tax suckers that they are. Let's move on to the third E, elections. Man, there's so many things about elections that I had to cull it down to fit into the time frame that I have here. Mail-in ballots. They're ubiquitous these days, but mail-in ballots are the easiest way to cheat in an election. What's to stop some nefarious person from sending in 5, 10, 100, 1,000 ballots? And there's no audit trail on them. They send them in. Oh, who mailed that? I don't know. Next thing you know, you got foreigners voting. You got people voting 100 times. I will work to bring those, or get rid of all of those back, and bring back Article 7, Section 14 of the Pennsylvania Constitution, which outlines only 5 reasons why you can do absentee voting. Things like you're sick, you're disabled, you're out of the Commonwealth on business, you're working the polls that day. There's only 5 things listed there. It doesn't say for the convenience of the people. So we just enforce the Constitution. My job description. And I'm going to make sure that that's going to be followed right off the top, starting with those mail-in ballots. And there are so many other places. Let's look at the last election, 2024. Statewide, 203 state reps, 25 state senators. Do you know how many of those had only one candidate? More than half. Out of the 125, there are 138 races with one candidate. What is this, communist Russia? If their goal is to prevent the competition from kicking them out of office, they're succeeding. Nobody wants to do this. Now, I know I'm preaching to the choir here. I've got to get 5,000 signatures to get on the ballot. Josh and Shapiro, he only needs 2,000. Jamie needs 5,100. Why? Because they said so. Because they don't want the competition. As my Uncle George said, it's one big club and you and I ain't in it. Obviously, we got to get rid of that. There's several things that we can do. Number one is my favorite. I'm a member of what's called the Pennsylvania Ballot Access Coalition. Libertarians, Greens, Constitution, Naderites, communists. We don't agree on a whole bunch of things, but we all agree on one thing: fair ballot access. I call myself the mom of our ballot access coalition, because if somebody starts talking about anything else, gun control, this, that, or the other thing, knock it off. It's going to blow us apart. So we don't talk about that. We're pushing a law we call the Political Party Equality Act. It's got 3 pieces to it. Number one, if you have 1/20 of 1% of the voters registered in your party, you are a political party under the law. There's only one type of political party, 1/20 or more. That's about 4,000 voters. Not very big. If you have that many, 4,000 voters, you are a party and you nominate according to your party rules, and that person goes directly onto the ballot. Yep. No signatures, no challenges, nothing. Because Article 1, Section 5 of the Pennsylvania Constitution says all elections shall be free and equal. So it's going to be equal. Nominate according to your party rules, step onto the ballot, and there's a fee. What is it, like $100 or something like that? What? You got 4 guys running, 5 guys running for governor. It brings in $500, maybe $1,000. Commonwealth doesn't need that money. It should be free and equal, what the Constitution says. Our Political Party Equality Act, that's the first part. Second part I already mentioned, they pay for their own primaries. We're not going to end primaries. They can do that. We don't care. But they're going to pay for their own follies, their own beauty contests. So that's the second part. The third one is for independents, the third part of that law. What that would do is, if you're an independent, a guy walking off the street, yeah, you have to get signatures. But it's just as many as what the 2 old parties need today. So if you're running for, like if Jamie is running for Congress, they need 500. You would need 500. If you're an independent, once you run for governor, if I said, the heck with you libertarians, I'm going to do it on my own, I would only need 2,000, not 5,000. And that's for the independents. And those signatures, they get turned into the Department of State, and the Department of State validates them. No more ballot challenges for anybody. No more lawsuits that can ruin you. In 2006, a green guy, Carl Romanelli, running for U.S. Senate, that year, the signature requirement was 67,000 signatures against 2,000 for the old parties. He tried. He turned in 98,500 signatures, a record for the Commonwealth. Well, the Democrats weren't going to have a green guy on the ballot. They dragged his butt into court, sued him, cut it down, those signatures. Oh, this person moved, invalid. Oh, he signed where he should have printed and printed where he should have signed. Invalid, 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 right on down the line. Ditto marks, no good, gone. They got him down to about 50,000, kicked him off the ballot, fined him $80,000 for the temerity of trying to get on the ballot. He's just a retired railroad guy from Reading, Pennsylvania. He still owes that money. Fortunately, I was a co-plaintiff on a law, this is in 2016, which found those fines unconstitutional, which is why I ran again in 2018, because it was the first chance that I had because of those fines. In 2010, we received a letter from the Republicans saying, get all your guys off the ballot, because that $80,000 fine, it's up to $106,000 now. We are going to bankrupt you. People say, Ken, are you going to run? It's like, no, I don't want to lose my house. My wife will divorce me. We found the courts found those fines finally unconstitutional. So I decided I was going to run again. So now everybody's able to run again. Between my race in 2002 when I ran for governor until I ran again in 2018, there were no third party or independent candidates on the ballot for governor in Pennsylvania. If they're out to intimidate us, they succeeded. It wasn't until 2016 we finally won. They challenged us. We got it down to 500 signature cushion. It was close. They almost fined us $100,000. As I said, it's tough to collapse all the problems that we have here with education. I get my E's confused. With elections. Other things. Gerrymandering. They love to gerrymander. There's an easy way to do this. There's a mathematical way called split line districts. You take all of Pennsylvania, you cut it in half. Two sides, equal population. Oh, you want more districts? Cut them in half again. 4 equal things. Oh, how many we need? For Congress, we need what, 17? Cut it into 17 equal districts. Yeah, you got to maybe bump around a city. You don't want to split cities in half. And that's it. It's mathematical. You stick it in a computer, you push a button, there are your districts. No gerrymanders, no judges, no Supreme Court stepping in and illegally, unconstitutionally saying these are going to be your districts. Split line districts, they're called. Get rid of that. I'll do one more, and then we'll move on. We have something here called plurality elections. Person with the most votes wins. Well, what happens is you got the green, the green, red and blue on there. You don't like either one. How often do you vote for the lesser of two evils? Right? You hold your nose and you vote. They don't see you holding your nose. They look at it as a mandate, saying, oh, he likes me. He voted for me. And they take that as a mandate for everything that they're doing. Plurality is recognized as the worst voting system on the planet. Nothing else is really compares to be worse. What we need to do is change that. People say, oh, what about instant runoff voting? Or, that doesn't change anything. If there's only 2 people there, what are you going to do? And if you've got a third person on there, marginally better, just a little bit. What we need to do is completely revamp how we vote. Start from scratch. First principles, as Elon Musk would say. What we need to do is add a button, not saying who you like, but who you dislike. Wouldn't that be fun? Pushing that dislike button? The way it would work is you get to approve of 0, 1, or 2 candidates for a given race. 0, 1, or 2 candidates. And for that same race, disapprove of 0 or 1 candidate. For each approval, they get a +1. For each disapproval, they get a -1. And the person with the highest net score wins. Pretty simple. The example that I like to talk about is Donald versus Hillary. Most people didn't like either one. They had a base 10, 15%, something like that. They would have gotten 10, 15% of these pluses, but they would have gotten 50, 60, 70 minuses. Neither one would have won. Think about that. Who would have won? Would it have been Jill Stein? Gary Johnson? some dog catcher independent who got his name on the ballot because we made it easier for him to get on the ballot. Extremist people aren't going to be picked because too many people are going to be hitting that disapprove button. So much that button's going to be busted before the end of the day. These are the things that I'm working for under education. And there's more. I can go on and on. I told the story earlier today about Joshing Shapiro, how he promised to pass our Voters' Choice Act, which made it easier for us third parties to get on the ballot. He said, I got it in writing from him saying, I support free and equal elections and I support the Voters' Choice Act. Well, came the day to vote, and you know what he did. I told you earlier today. He voted against it. It's like, Josh, how could you do this? And he whines, well, I got to go out in January and you got all summer. It's like, Josh, you guys wrote that law. If you don't like it, change it. Don't put it on me. Man, oh man. E's. The 3 E's. Education. I'm going to work to get your kids a private education with $11,000 in your kid's pocket. Actually, it's $11,500 because you get transportation as well. Also going to work to eliminate that property tax. What am I missing? No, this is not my notebook. For you, $5. So there you go. The 3 E's. Private education for your kid, $1,000 in your kid's education savings account, and property tax for schools gone. For the economy, getting rid of the pork barrel spending, eliminating the Pennsylvania personal income tax. Elections, getting fair and equal elections that we can trust. This is what I'm promising for the people of Pennsylvania. This is what I'm working toward. This is what's on the back of all my little cards and what's on the banner in the back of the room. These are the things I want to do. It's a no-brainer. And to make sure that it happens for the education side, I'm going to be filing a lawsuit to have it overturned. And one piece of that lawsuit is calling for the judge to set a hard date to complete the privatization, the divestiture. And if they don't meet that date, they don't get paid. Do you want to see how fast they can act? Well, we're going to see. Well, I can go on and on and on, as you can tell. You know, I'm also a professional public speaker. People actually pay me to speak, but I know a lot of people who just pay me to shut up. I hope that this isn't one of those things. Let me pause right there, open the floor up to questions. I'll answer a question on any subject. Any questions? Please. What's that? Oh, yeah, that's fine. You can do that. Oh, must be getting old. Nobody's even going to ask about abortion. James had it. Well, it's the same thing. Any kind of a tax like that. Stuff that's already on the book, it's hard to change because it takes an act of the legislature to remove it. It's only the enforcement, the funding of the enforcement that I can affect. And of course, they're going to freak out for stuff like that. They're going to try and override the veto. And I bet they're going to be successful a couple of times. But yeah, inheritance tax should go. All the taxes should go. And you know, when I said get rid of the property tax, there's this much property tax. Schools are this much. But there's still a piece over here that's left over. It pays for things like the county court system, the roads, the county roads, traffic lights, things like that. What I want to do is something I call free the property tax. I want to have a free market in those remaining pieces there. Like, for example, my hometown of Abington, they've nationalized our trash collection. What if we opened it up? If we freed the property tax, you could choose any trash hauler you want at a lower rate. You don't have to choose the government one. Choose the private one. It could be the same thing with fire protection. It could be the same thing with police. It could be the same thing with paving the roads, plowing the snow. Free the property tax, safety inspectors. All these things are better done cheaper by the private sector. So not only can I get rid of 60, 70, 80, 90% of the property tax through this lawsuit, by freeing the property tax, we can get rid of the rest. Yes, Autumn. About the horrible what? School lunches. Well, do you know, once this lawsuit succeeds, there will be no school districts. There will be no government schools at all. They won't have any money. They won't have any power. They won't have any school buildings. We're going to sell them all off to the highest bidder. As long as they're educating our children properly, according to private estimates, it's not going to be the government determining whether or not they're good. I worked for 20 years at Educational Testing Service. I've worked on NAEP, the Nation's Report Card. I was in charge of their testing centers worldwide for a while there. I know what it takes. We'll go to them, private company. Tell us. Same people who do your SATs. We trust them to a degree. I worked inside. I trust them. I've seen what they do. They try very hard to be fair. We'll go to them to determine whether or not it's any good. So your school lunches, they're gone. You're going to a private school. You picked the private school. You could pick them for the best lunches they got. It's going to be steak and lobster, not just for the troops, but for your kids too. What if you're a homeschooler? Can you imagine you're a homeschooler? Hey, I ain't done, girl. You ask. Like I said, people will pay me to shut up. If you're a homeschooler, you got $11,000 sitting there. Take your kid on a field trip. Say, hey, what's it like riding overnight on a train? Hey, what's it like being in Disneyland? I don't know. Homeschoolers, they're very, very creative about this. So I'm sorry, Autumn, nobody's going to be buying those crappy lunches. Nobody's going to have the money to do it. School districts will be gone. Government schooling will be gone. Private sector will take over. What do we do? I still have a couple more minutes. Privatize it, man. So, we certainly need the legislation. The big thing is, though, it brings in a couple $1 billion of revenue to the Commonwealth every year. Well, the thing is, if you privatize it, people are going to still be buying alcohol. There are going to be hundreds, thousands of new liquor stores all over the place. All those taxes are going to be there, including that crazy Johnstown tax from 100 years ago, which they said was temporary, right? Temporary tax, oxymoronic. Without changing any of those things, it's still going to bring in about the same amount of money. We'll have better choice, better options. Some places not closed on the 4th of July. So we'll get rid of that. I've had state store people. I still call them state stores. I'm a boomer. State store employees are like, yeah, what's going to happen to my job? Well, the same is going to happen to the teacher. They're going to go to the new store. They're going to go to the private sector. Good teachers, good state store clerks, they're going to get a good job. The crappy teachers, the crappy clerks, they're going to be down McDonald's now, working there. Eliminating roadside revenue collection, like cops and speed limits and things like that. Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, that's authorized by the Constitution. The gas tax is limited in what it can pay for, and it just doesn't pay for what it should. Constitution says for the maintenance and construction of bridges and roads and safety on the highways. They use safety on the highways to pay for the state police. So most of the state police money comes from the gas tax. So what they do is they think that that is safety. One thing I like to say is more important than solving a problem correctly is to solve the correct problem. What's the problem with people going too fast on the roads? It's just not safe. Who is more interested in safety? The government or the insurance companies? One thing, my Tesla, I love my Teslas, man. Tesla's doing insurance now. What they do is they watch what your car is doing and they base your rate on how you drive. If you're a safe driver, it is far, far below regular rates. If you're driving like Mad Max all the time, your rates are going to be higher. You choose how much you're going to want to do. And it's going to reach a point where you're just such a crappy driver, nobody's going to insure you. And if you're out on the roads that you don't own, that we, the people collectively own, well, then we could shut you down. We could put you in jail. Put your ass in jail because you're being unsafe. Doing 90 through a residential area? No. We don't need state police to do that. We need the free market to take care of that. Free market's always the answer. And Roy Minette's just sitting there grinning. That's what it's all about. He's got some great books back there, by the way. The one I like is the Savior of the Universe or something like that. Savior of the World. It's all about the free market. It's real small. You can read it in 2 minutes. You had your hand up. Yeah. How about that? Constitution says you have the right to testify witnesses against you. There are no witnesses against you. It's just some box up on the wall. Man, just on the constitutional grounds alone. I went through this. I don't have the list in front of me. There's 17 places where they violate the Constitution. That's one there. Another one there is the state legislature shall receive salary, mileage, quote, no other compensation whatsoever. Yeah, but they got themselves fancy offices and walking around money and retirements and everything like that. 17 places I've identified. My least favorite is Article 1, Section 21. Anybody know what it is? The right of the citizen to bear arms in defense of himself and the state shall not be questioned. I have no question what that means. You know, I got to tell you a story. In 2002, I was in a debate, broadcast nationally. Ed Rendell, right over there. We were allowed to ask each other 2 questions. My first question was for Ed. I said, Ed, the Constitution says the right to bear arms shall not be questioned, but you're calling for limiting gun purchases to 2 a month. I want to know, what are you going to betray? Your oath to the Constitution or your promise to the anti-gun lobby? Ed smiled, looked at the camera and said, I think we can have reasonable gun control. And the second question I ask of me, but that's a separate story. So anyway, shall not be questioned. Yes, sir. NUMAC? N-U-M-A-K or something? No, I've never heard of NUMAC. Oh. Yeah. I was born that year. It wasn't me. Well, why do you say it's taxpayer money? Because I have a plan for pollution, which, in fact, the Republican in 2002 endorsed my plan to take care of pollution, Superfund sites, and all that kind of stuff like that. It's called polluter pays. Right now, if you bought a house, and let's say you had all that uranium in the backyard, do you know who's left holding the cleanup bag? You are, because you bought it even though the seller knew it was there. That's fraud. We could use, you're trespassing. They're allowing their junk to leak onto your property. So you can use all of the remedies that you have for trespassers against polluters. So you can have court injunctions saying, clean up the mess. Stop doing what you're doing. Pay for that cleanup. So if whoever made that mess, they're the ones who clean up. Different point of view. Yeah, good luck. You know, and there's a broader problem than that. We've got the wrong kind of nuclear reactors. We should be using thorium reactors or sodium reactors, the ones that are safer. There you go. Somebody who knows his nuclear science. Yes, sir. Same thing. Well, are you talking about fracking? Same thing. It's any kind of pollution. It's all treated the same way. In fact, I have something a little broader than that. It's something that I call a CANT license, C-A-N''T, a CANT license. I started it off with driver's licenses. We shouldn't have driver's licenses. Go out and drive. But if you're an idiot with your car, you get a can't drive license. And if we catch you driving, we throw your butt in the clinker. And you can use that for anything. You don't need a gun license. You need a can't carry license. If you're an idiot with a gun and we catch you being an idiot with a gun, we give you a can't carry license. Maybe it's only for 6 months or a year or something like that. If we catch you with a gun, we throw your butt in the clinker. If somebody's polluting, we give them a can't frack license, a can't pipeline license, can't mine license, whatever it is. There's a whole slew of can't licenses that we can use. And that means that we, the honest people, we don't get punished. Only the criminals get punished. What a concept. Yes, sir. How can I get new reactors built in Pennsylvania? I'm not. I'm not going to do it at all. When I ran in 98 against Tom Ridge, what he did is he said, we've got to save this shipbuilding site in Philadelphia Navy Yard. I brought in this company, Caverner, and they're taking it over. Well, 2 years later, Caverner went bankrupt. What was the one that Obama did? Solyndra? Same thing. The government is not smart enough to run in the free market. Nothing they do in the free market is any good. So I would not have the government build nuclear reactors, shipyards, or anything. Veto power. Veto everything that goes by. And if there's funding for it, that's where I really have the power over the budget. And I'm starting to run overtime. And nobody's asking about abortion. Oh, damn it, we got one back there. Yeah, Nate. What is geoengineering? What, you mean like the Army Corps of Engineers rerouting rivers and stuff? What do you mean? Well, you're polluting. Same thing. Already covered that. Yes, sir. I cannot hear you. Yep, absolutely. I think John Thomas already touched upon this. He chairs the Board of Pardons. I'm promising my first day in office, day one, I'm going to sit down at that desk. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pardon every single nonviolent drug offender. And thank you. If there's some piece of paper they didn't file, oh, you don't have a carry permit. So what? You got a pardon. No victim, no crime. All of these things. You've defrauded somebody, you stay in jail. You gave drugs to kids, you stay in jail. But if you're only just sitting back, smoking a joint, watching The Simpsons, and they knock down your door, you've got to get out of jail free card from this governor. So once that happens, the cops are going to say, why are we bothering to arrest this person? He's only going to get pardoned. This actually happened in Philadelphia when Ed Rendell was mayor. He ordered the police department not to bust for small amounts of pot. I was standing in an alley with a couple people, and they're passing around a joint, and a cop walks by and says, shouldn't you be keeping a lookout? And he kept right on walking. So we're cool. We'll just pardon everybody. I'll slow down here. And nobody asked about abortion. All right, you know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to stop there. But before I do, I want to address the elephant in the room. People look at me and say, Ken, great ideas. Yes, I would love to have $11,000 in a private education for my kid. Absolutely. We should stop the growth of the cost of government. Yes, we need good elections, but Ken, face it, you're not going to win. Oh, hold it. I can win. It's in the cards. And we don't have to have Josh and Shapiro be put in jail for the Ellen Greenberg case. And we don't have to have Stacey Garrity tied too close to Trump that she loses. We don't need that. Because if you crunch the numbers, you find out that the two parties, old parties, have disillusioned so many people, not many people are going to vote this year. If it struggles, 40%, 35, 45%. If you crunch the numbers, you find that all it would take to secure a libertarian victory is to attract the vote of 1 out of 6 voting age Pennsylvanians. That's it. 1 out of 6 can stop their tricks. So if you're sitting at a table with 5 people and they're all saying, that guy Ken's crazy, and you're like, no, I'm going to vote for it. That's all it takes. One after the other. So we can do it. And at the very least, we're going to send a very, very strong message. And one thing I could do this year, Josh Shapiro has a double-digit lead over Stacey. Joshing is going to win. What the pollsters are saying, Stacey's going to lose. So it's safe for a Democrat to vote Libertarian because their candidate's going to win. He doesn't need you. But they do want to get rid of their property tax. They do want a private education for their children. Same with Stacey. She's not going to win. It's safe to vote for a libertarian. So that's what I'm planning on doing. I'm going to try and convince people it's safe to vote for a libertarian this year because of how badly the country is divided. Take advantage of the situation. So I'm going to end saying, please vote for me, Ken Krawchuk, Libertarian for Pennsylvania governor. Because if people keep voting the way they've been voting, they're going to keep on getting just what they've been getting. And I don't know about you, but I have had enough. Thank you for your attention. Yeah. Get me out there. Get me into the schools. Get me into the agencies. Mr. Gregg.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. And join Toastmasters.
All right. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate that. What a night of speakers tonight.